Hello, welcome to Introduction to Java Programming. In this session, we will understand if statement as part of the basic programming constructs of Java. Let's begin. In the previous class, we have understood about the control statements, and if is one of the selection statements, and if is a two-way statement. That means it has two parts or two blocks. One is the true block, another is the false block. So by having this if statement, we can decide which part of the block has to be executed and which part we want to skip. Like this, we can have some control over whatever we are writing as part of a program. This if statement is actually available in four forms. One is a simple if, that means there is no else actually here. And there is if else, that means if part is there, else part is there. That means both true part as well as the false part. So in simple if there is no else, that means we have only true block or true part. And if else, you have both true as well as false thing. So based on the condition, either true or false block is going to get executed. And we have nested if else, where we can actually nest our if else statements. And finally, we have else if ladder. We can construct a ladder kind of thing with the help of else if statements. So let's understand the basics. So if is a two-way statement and it takes an expression. It takes an expression, and this expression should always evaluate to Boolean. The expression should always evaluate to Boolean. And if it's not evaluating to Boolean, then it is wrong actually. As an example, let me tell you by taking a program here. So I'm just writing something like this, if, and I have an expression, right? So this expression, let's say I'm saying 1. Okay. And you can actually have a block written. Otherwise, if there is only one statement, this block is not required. Now I'm saying system.out.println. I'm just saying it's actually a true block or whatever it is actually. I'm just saying here it's a true block. That means if the condition is true, then this is going to get executed, right? Yeah. So now it has taken an expression. That expression is a literal value, and that's actually an integer, right? But what I'm saying, if expression must evaluate to Boolean. So now this is actually a compile time error. Let's see. My program name is main.java. So let's say main.java. Now let's see what compiler will say. It says incompatible types. Int cannot be converted to Boolean because in the if statements, the expression expected to be a Boolean value, but I have 1. So 1 is not true. So Java is different from C and C++. In C and C++, this statement is correct. 1 is considered to be true. Any non-zero value considered to be true in C and C++, whereas in Java, we have Boolean types, true and false actually. Okay, so if I have to make this work, then I can actually say true. If true, then it will work actually. True is a Boolean constant. So the expression is getting evaluated to Boolean. So there will be no problem, and my compiler will compile it without any issue actually. Fine. So if I run because it's true, I'm going to get the output as it's true block. So you want to see, you can actually say something like the Java space main, then you can actually see as true block. So this is one of the important point to understand. The expression in the if statements always must be evaluated to Boolean, not just if statement. Even whenever you write some loops also like for loop, while loop and do while loop, expression should evaluate to Boolean. Okay, so since we are saying it is a two-way statement, so this particular thing is actually a true block, and later we can actually have the else part as well, and this is going to be the false block. This is going to be the false part of the block. Okay, So if you are writing only one line after if statement or the else statement, this block is not required. That means these parentheses are not required. Okay, this curly braces, not parentheses. These are called curly braces. Yeah, so these are not required. The curly braces are used to specify a block in Java, of course in C and C++. But there is only one statement here you want to write as part of the block. The parentheses, this block curly braces are not required. Okay, we will see that actually as part of the program. Now let's understand simple if actually. The simple if is the one which has no else. So I will write something like this: if some expression, and here I have some statements. If I'm writing only one line, block is not required. If I'm writing more than one line, then a block is mandatory. Right? So here you will have this particular true block. If the expression is true, then this is going to get executed. The expression is false. I don't have any false part here. So if it is false, this is skipped and the rest of the code is going to get executed. Whatever you write here, that is going to get continued. This is about simple if. So now to understand this, let me actually tell you one example. So just a demonstration of a simple if here. Now in my program, you can see I have three integers which are actually holding a random number which is actually between 1 to 100. So A, B, C, I'm generating a random number. So random into 100, so this is 0 to 99, and I'm adding 1 such that it will become 1 to 100. Now I would like to find which one is the biggest out of three random numbers generated. Which one is the biggest actually? So in order to do that, I need to write an if statement because I have to check, I have to take a decision among the three, right? So now what I do, if A has to be big, what I need to do, I have to check A with B and A with C. A is greater than B and A is greater than C, then A is big, right? Now I can do that because I have logical operators. Logical AND operator is there. So what I do is if A greater than B and A greater than C, then what is big? So I can say A value is big, right? I can say A plus is big. If A greater than B and A greater than C, A value is big, right? I'm not writing any else part actually here. The same thing I'm going to repeat here for 2 times. I just copy and paste here and change the variables. Now, if at all I want to make B is big, I will write like this. If B greater than A and B greater than C, which is big? B is big. I don't have the else part. Now I want to make C greater than, C is the bigger value, C greater than B and C greater than A. Okay, if C is greater than B and C is greater than A. Otherwise, let's write like this: C greater than A and C greater than B. Then which is big? C is big. So this is a simple if statement, right? Because it has no else part. Okay, so this is how I can actually find the biggest of three numbers by using simple if. So I'm finding what? A biggest of three numbers. Let's see, it will work actually. So it is my test.java. Let me compile this. Java C test.java. Yeah, compiled successfully, there is no problem. And now let's see, Java space test, and three random numbers will be generated and we are finding them actually. So we are not actually, we have not written a statement to print the random numbers. We will do that. Of course, 69 is big, but what are the three random numbers which have got generated? So I just want to print them. So I will make one PL statement here, system.out.println A, then I will give some space, then I will print B and give some space, and then I will print C. Now I will understand what are the numbers which have actually got generated as well by the random method. So let me compile again. It's compiled successfully, and now you can actually see 74, 128 have got generated and 74 is the big. And this time 43, 684 generated and 84 is the big. And this time 89, 16, 18. So 89 is the big. And 93, 45 and 95, 95 is the big, right? So it is able to find the biggest of the three numbers. So you can actually use your simple if like this. Simple if is having only one part, that is the true part. If it is false, it goes to the next statement and continues with the execution, right? Because we didn't mention what is the false block actually for us. Okay, yeah. So this is one example, and now let's move to if else actually. Okay, if else. Okay, what is if else? So if else will have two blocks. Okay, if of expression, you take the expression. If it is true, this block is going to get executed. Else the false block is going to get executed. This is what if else. Okay, there are good number of examples. For example, finding whether number is negative or positive. Okay, if the number is not positive, then definitely it must be negative. And if finding a number whether it is even or odd, if it is not, definitely it is even, right? So then that means wherever you find, actually there are two options, only two options. Straight away if else will fit in there. Okay, so let me actually explain that with some example here. Let me go to this particular main.java here. So I am going to tell you here about if else. Okay, so what I do is finding even odd actually, whether a given number is even or odd. So how I'm going to do that? So I require some number to be generated first. So let me actually take this number, which is actually from 1 to 100, a random number I'm generating here, and let me print also this number. Yeah, just I'm printing A actually. So this is the number generated, right? Then I have to take a decision whether it is even or odd. Okay, even or odd. How do you find whether it is even or odd? So we divide the number with 2. If the remainder value is 0, that is even. Else the remainder is not 0, when you divide by 2, definitely it's an odd number. That is pretty simple logic, right? So now we are writing like this: if this particular A, whatever the value that got generated, modulus of 2 is equal to 0. So how to get a remainder? We have already seen the operators actually. If it is modulus, then it will give us the remainder. So if A mod 2 equal to 0, so now I am going to write, this is going to be, the A value is going to be even actually, right? A is even. A is even. Okay, because there is only one line, I am not writing the block here. So I'm not keeping the braces. Else, now I have the else part as well. Now the else part, that is the false part. If A mod 2 is not equal to 0, then A is going to be odd number. Is odd. That is a very basic logic actually. Fine. So this is how the if else will work. If this is the true part, if the expression is true, else this is the false part. If it is true, this is going to get executed. If it is false, this is going to get skipped. So some part you can skip and some part you can execute with the help of control statement. So that's the purpose of control statement here. And let me actually show you that this is going to work perfectly. Java C main.java compiled successfully, and when I run Java space main, now you can actually see 39. 39 is odd number. Let me actually correct the spelling here. So this is ODD, and let me compile again. Yeah, 24 generated this time, and it's an even number. And let me run again. So this time 43 is an odd, and then 87 is an odd, then 11 is an odd number, 22 is even number actually. Okay, this is about if else, very simple, right? And now let's actually go and understand about the nested if else. Nested if else. So here what happens, we can actually use if else in another if else. So I'm having if statement here, if of some expression, then what I do here is if of expression. And as part of this if statement, I can actually have some more if. I'm nesting. Okay. And also, and just not here. So this if is having else, right? In this else part as well, you can actually have an if statement written. So you are nesting your if else statement in if part or the else part. This is called nesting actually. Nested if else. Okay. So usually if is a two-way statement, whenever you have to take care of uh, more than two ways. So there are three things that you have to take care of, the four things that you have to take care, then you have to go for nested if else. So let me actually tell you an example for this. So let me take some three random numbers and let me print also. Okay, so these are three random numbers. And yeah, so this is a demonstration for nested if else. And here what I'm doing, I am finding the biggest of three numbers using nested if else. Using nested if else, not using simple if. I'm not using any logical operators. So here I want to find the biggest of these three numbers A, B, C. Okay, earlier I have used uh, the logical operators. So without using logical operators, how do you do? See, in the logical operators, you have these terms actually. So you can check more than one condition at a time, A greater than B and A greater than C. Okay, so here the problem is, even if A is big, after printing A is big, these two statements will get executed because there is no, this is not false part. These are actually the rest of the code, so they are going to get executed. Okay, even though we confirmed A is big, these statements will get executed and they will return false here. Again, it will go here and return false, and finally it closes. So here, when A is big, these lines are actually redundant. Okay, this is not a proper way of writing the code. So how to do actually? How to make your code proper? How to avoid redundancy or redundant parts of the code? So you can actually use this mechanism here. So here, your code, none of your code will be redundant. Okay, so how, if I actually make that with the nested if else, what I do here is I will actually check first whether A greater than B. If A is greater than B, then I will check whether A is also greater than C. If A greater than B, then only I will come inside of the block. And I will check if A greater than C, then I will write here. Because A greater than B is true and A greater than C is true, definitely my A is going to be big. Okay. Now, for this particular if, there is an else part, right? There is an else part. Okay, so that means here A greater than B, that is true, that's why you are here. Assume that is true, that's why you are here. But A greater than C is false. A greater than C is false. That means what? A is already greater than B, but A is not greater than C. That means C is the biggest, right? That means C is the biggest. So straight away you can actually write C is big. Fine. So this is actually in my if statement. See, I am nesting actually here. This is my if statement. In the if statement, I have one if else. Okay. Assume my A greater than B is false. So then I will go to my else block. I will go to my else block. Okay. So in the else block, that means A greater than B means A is not the biggest. B or C may be the biggest values. So here I cannot confirm that B is big here. I cannot say system.out.println B is big because C also I have to compare, right? So here in the else part, again I have to do some testing. So what I have to do is, I know A greater than B is false. That means B is bigger, right? So now I have to check whether B is also bigger than C. If B greater than C, then let's say B is big. B is big. Okay, else that means A is not greater than B. Okay, and B is not greater than C. Then definitely C is going to be big, right? So A greater than B false, that's why I'm here. That means A is smaller. And B greater than C, then B is big. If B greater than C fails, B is already greater than A, but B greater than C fails, that means C is going to be big actually. So this is actually the proper code to find the biggest of three numbers. But here what we did in the if statement, we have if else, and in the else part also we have if else. This is actually nested if else. So the number of lines are big actually. The number of lines are big, but this is a efficient code than this, because here we have redundant code and here there is nothing redundant. There is nothing redundant. For example, if my A value is bigger and I will be stopping here itself, and all these parts will never get executed. We are skipping this. Straight away my A value is big, A greater than B and A greater than C, then A is big. That's it. It's done. This else part, nothing is going to get executed. If it is not big, if it is A is not big, for example, C is big, we will stop here only. Okay, if A fails, if A is not greater than B, then you will come here. So that means none of these statements are going to get executed. Okay, so this is how this nested if else will work. Let's see whether it's actually working fine or not. Yeah, all these codes will be shared to you. Let's not worry. Java C demo.java. Sorry, the class name actually has been changed here. So this class name is demo, and I have to save this as demo.java. Yeah, so in Java, your class name, your main class name, and your file name must be same, right? Otherwise, it's going to give you an error. So here I have changed it Java C demo.java, and it's compiled now, and Java demo. Now three random numbers generated, and out of which is big, 67 is big. The A value is big, so none of these codes are going to get executed. Now see. Now C value is big actually, and 20 is less than B, so this part is going to get executed. Line number 15 onwards, it's going to get executed because A less than B, right? 20 less than B, so it will come over here, right? And this part is skipped. So 10 to 14 lines are skipped. Now let's again see here. This time I have my middle value. This 74 is actually B is actually big. So that means the first part is not going to get executed. The second part is going to get executed. So this is how you can actually make use of the if else statement. Of course, we have one more variant of the if statement, that is nested else if ladder, which is actually going to take a little bit time, because you have to construct a scenario where we are actually checking multiple conditions. So that part will be taken in the next session. So hope you have understood this if statement, especially simple if else, and nested if else. And we are going to see the else if ladder in the next session. Thank you.